Hello everyone. Today I'm going to be teaching you how to apply foreground and background through a simple drawing method. I think everyone will appreciate this, and it's especially easy to do if you're just a beginner. Now, before we begin this process, allow me to explain the basics of foreground and background. When you hear foreground and background, you most likely think of plays and movies, because that's where it's primarily used in their set design. But artists also use it to draw the viewer's eye into their amazing artwork. And it's all about the composition. I'm going to be here teaching you that today. First, we're going to be talking about the background. The background is most likely the simplest one to talk about because it's just everything the subject is in front of. Like if it's a house, the trees behind. Next, we're going to be talking about the foreground. The foreground is everything in front of the subject. It's like some rocks or trees, and you can find it in a lot of places. Now we're going to be talking about the subject. The subject is the thing that the artist wants you to pay attention to, and the background and the foreground will complement it. Now this next part is to help people understand foreground, background, and subject in everyday life. Exercise, I already got an image we're all going to work on together, and I will put a link to this image in the description. So we're going to begin by tracing all the environment, like the mountains in the back and the trees in front and everything in between, because that's what's going to be the basis for understanding background, foreground, and subject. After tracing everything, we're now going to identify the background. The background, I would say, is all the mountains and those trees in the back, because they're not as apparent as the trees in the front, and they complement the entire picture. After identifying the background, we're now going to identify the midground or the subject. Now this is easy because it is literally in the middle of everything. It's the trees and the water. Now that's going to be our midground and subject for this picture. And now since we know what the background and midground are, we're now going to see the foreground. The foreground is going to be that little bush in the corner because it is a little out of place and it obstructs the view of the midground. But that's an important element of the picture. For this tutorial, I'm teaching you how to make amazing art with background, midground, and foreground. And to do that, we're now going to begin tracing all the little more details of everything. And now I'm going to skip ahead to where I'm done, but take your own time. Now after tracing all the important elements of this picture, we're now going to be removing layer 1 to see what we have left. If you did your tracing right, your drawing should look like this without any colors at all. I think this is a good start to what we're about to do. Now after you are done tracing, we're going to begin coloring. Now use this in the same layer you did your tracing in because it'll be the basis for everything else we're going to do in the future. Now, this is simple. You just color pick the main color there and drop it in. Now after you're done putting in all your colors, your drawing should look something like this. Now what we're going to do is we're going to change the opacity on both layers to make it so that it's kind of see-through. We're going to do this so that we can have a better understanding of what details we're going to add. Now everyone, we're going to create a new layer and name it background. Now this is the most difficult part of it, is the most tedious I should say. We're going to trace all the details of like the trees and the mountains with their colors. And we're going to do this to create a better effect for our drawing. Now this is going to take a while, so I'm going to skip to when I'm done. Now you see here, I just finished it, and I know it took a while for everyone, but this is important. See how I didn't put anything from the foreground? I only had the important things that are in the background, the trees and the mountains. Now we're going to add the midground now, which is going to be all the trees in the lake, okay? Now here I'm doing the same thing we did with background. I'm tracing the details we had, and I'm going to define them more with the original image. Now, it's going to take a while, and I recommend keep on going back and forth between the layers to see the best for both of them. Now you see here, I had a rough idea of what I wanted, but it didn't look good. So I kept on going back and forth again and again, like I said earlier. And this is the most important part, trial and error. It's all about what you think looks right. And it's okay if you mess up because I did a lot here too. Now, go back in and let's see what we can improve on. Finally, after a lot of trial and error, I think I'm finally done with the mid-ground. Now I think it looks a lot better than it was, and that was just because of tedium, just all the hard work. And it's important that it's okay if you take a while on these projects. This one wasn't as easy and simple as the first video I did, but I would really appreciate help like this when I was a little younger. Now this artwork is starting to look better and better, but we're not done yet. We still have to add our foreground. Now remember, make another layer on top of the midground, and we're going to begin by making that one bush in the corner. Now for this bush, it's actually more important that we add a lot more detail to it compared to the other things we did. That's because it's in the foreground and it has the most attention to it. So we wanted to make sure it's a little brighter and more well designed compared to all ones, but it doesn't have to be perfect. After a bit of going continuously back and forth between the original layer and our new one, we could finally get something that looks really good. Now, I know it took a while, and this one, for me personally, was the hardest because, well, how do I make it look like grass, right? But just remember, keep on going at it. Now, finally, after you're done with the grass layer, you realize you missed a spot like me. But that's okay, just go to your original layer and fix it. But in all seriousness, it looks so good, right, guys? But you notice there's no sun. Now, you expect that to be part of the background, but it's not. It's for something completely else, the backdrop. Now, I forgot to mention it earlier, but that's more of a wall to your drawing, the canvas or the sky. Now, right here, it's just going to be super easy. You just draw a circle, and we're done. Now, here's where you add the final touches. And I personally believe it's looking really good already. You don't need to add this, but personally, I did it. Now, everyone, thank you for watching this video and watching this tutorial, and I really apologize for not posting in a while. I had a tough couple months, and school, second semester, all of that, but I promise a new video will be coming very soon. Thank you all so much, and remember to please like and subscribe.